I love me some Devir. They've got these awesome, intricate, amazing Euro-style games, but they also have a bunch of fun family games and party games. And apparently they started out as a comic book company? I don't know. But you know who does know? Matt Hyland, one of the managing partners over at Devir, and I met him a couple of times at Gen Con, but he agreed to sit down for an interview with me, and as usual, he was just a wonderful person. And here we are with Matt Hyland, the one managing partner at Devir. How's it going, Matt?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for sitting down. I would say good morning, but you know, where you are right now, it's actually 4 p.m.
That's right.
It's 9 a.m. here, so my day's just starting. Yours is kind of coming to a close.
Yeah. Actually, everybody here. I'm in Barcelona, by the way, and a lot of companies here. During the summer they have what are called intensive summer hours, and so everybody shuts the office at 3 o'clock. So I'm all by myself here in the office, but it's kind of nice actually. So
that sounds nice. That sounds great. I wish that was something that we could adopt here in the States.
Yeah,
because that would be nice for the summertime. But we'll jump right in. We're talking about Devir today. So for any of our viewers who aren't super familiar with Devir, can you give us kind of a bird's eye view of the company, who Devir is?
Okay, well, I think most of your audience is going to know us as a publisher of English language games, actually of games that come with 5 different rule books, because we have offices in a lot of different countries. But you know, some of our bigger hits would be games like the Red Cathedral, the White Castle, the Toku, Lacrimosa. You see the poster here behind me for that one. You know, I think we're known for having lots of material packed in a compact way in a box, whether it's a huge box, you know, like the Toku, or whether it's one of those medium-sized boxes like the White Castle or Red Cathedral. You really get a lot of game for you know, for what you spend, and I think people like that about us. I read a lot of positive comments that way. Going back about, you know, if you want to talk about the history of the company a little bit. Actually, today I realized is our 37th anniversary. So
really,
yeah. So like I said, a lot of people in the U.S. and North America know us just for the Devir Games line, but we actually started many years ago in Brazil as comic book distributors, and over time we got into RPGs and trading card games, and then publishing our own board games. And we always sort of wanted to be the people that could bring these cool things that we really like to markets where they might not be so available. So we have a big distribution network in Latin America. We started an office in Spain in 2000, in Portugal in 1996. And it's always with the goal of like sharing stuff that we really like, because we're gamers and we like comic books and role-playing games and all that stuff. We wanted to share it with local communities. So that's kind of why we're here. And,
that's great. I mean, my second question was going to be about the history, but you just kind of knocked that out. So it was originally a comic book company.
Yeah, the company was founded by some former Unisys engineers who really loved comics. But in Brazil back in that day, you couldn't get any indie comics. You could only get some of the big Marvel and DC titles.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to import some indie comics in English. And it's kind of a funny story. They didn't really know what they were doing, in spite of the fact that they're really intelligent guys. So they sent one of the partners, and because nobody would give a Brazilian company credit terms, so they sent one of the partners with $5,000 in cash, and he flew to Houston, and then took a Greyhound bus all the way up to Denver. And at that time, it was Mile High Comics, so they were one of the big comic distributors, to actually place his first order. And so when he told me the story, I was like, oh my gosh, you got on a Greyhound and went from Houston to Denver with $5,000 in your bag? That's insane.
That's a recipe for disaster is what that is.
Yeah. They could have lost their life savings, but
Yeah, no kidding. That's amazing. Then after the comics, then you said they went into RPGs,
Right.
and then eventually they decided to go full on into board games, because now they have a pretty impressive line of both heavy strategy Euro style games, but then also some really fun like party games and family games.
Yeah.
So I just find that fascinating, that progression to starting on comic books and then going into RPGs and then
Well,
broadening out into a wide range.
you're a lot younger than me, and probably a lot of your audiences too. But back in the day, when RPGs started hitting the market, the comic book stores were, abundant, and they were a natural place for that type of thing to be sold. And so that was why we first learned about RPGs and really loved the concept, and then started to do some importation, and then we decided to try and publish them in Portuguese initially. And then those types of retailers also overlapped really well with the types of retailers that first started selling Magic the Gathering. And so that gave us like a window into the Magic the Gathering distribution business, not only in Brazil, but also in Spain and Portugal and the rest of Latin America. And then at some point, one of our partners decided that we wanted to diversify our business, and they managed to secure the rights to do the first Lord of the Rings board game in Spanish. Actually, we started in Spanish.
Really?
That was in, I think that was in around 2003. And then, we went after some of the other bigger titles like Catan and Carcassonne, and just slowly built our portfolio in Spanish and Portuguese board games. So like our catalog in Spanish is probably 450 titles long. And we have a lot of big names, like I said, Catan, Carcassonne, all the Czech games, Yellow, lots of big publishers. And then in 2016, we said, okay, the only market where we're really not doing any business is the U.S. And so the only way we're going to get into that market is by producing our own proprietary lines of games. And so that's kind of how we're here.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about some of those proprietary line games. One thing, and I've discussed this with you when I've talked with you at Gen Con, but the games that you guys make are so interesting and intricate, and the stories on the games are unlike games that you can find anywhere else. So I just want to know, like, what is the design process like for these games?
Well, so I'm not in the publishing area of the business. I'm
sure.
in the administrative and sales and marketing area. But first of all, our publishing department does an amazing job.
Yeah.
We have some really talented people there. And so I can't take credit for what they do, but they do a great job. And from what I understand about the whole production process is, like, essentially we have a network of designers that we know and people that we talk to, and there are local game design fairs here in Spain that we attend, and people come and they present ideas and pitch us things. It's not like we say, we need a game about the Old West in our portfolio, and let's go, commission somebody to do that. People come to us with ideas for games, and then if something clicks, they'll say, like, the story with Lacrimosa was like that. So our main publisher, Devir, was talking with the designers of Lacrimosa, and they were listing off a number of themes that they had. And when they got to Mozart, he was like, okay, stop, tell me about that one. And within like 2 years, we had, he said, okay, I'm really interested in that. And they went and they fleshed out the design and everything. And then in about 2 years, we had the game. So it's like with a lot of companies, I think, sometimes you'll get a game that was good mechanically, but maybe the theme is a little bit off. And so they'll say, that's good, but why don't you try it with an Old West theme, or why don't you try it with space theme, or whatever it is. and things come together that way. We actually have our own, I think you alluded to this a little bit, we have our own world that we've created called the Kamushi Saga, and it's sort of a Miyazaki inspired world, a little bit of an anime style to it. And so we have about 5 or 6 games in that world. And there's a whole chronology to them, and we'll probably continue releasing things in that world as well. So it's kind of cool.
I find those, because Batoku's in that one, right? That's
right. Yeah. And let's see. This year we released Sand, that's in that same world, and we're going to release Daitoshi at Essen, which is in that same world. And so and then we had Silk was the first one, which is one of my favorite Devir games that is probably lesser known, but and then Yokai Sketch and Bamboo. So yeah, we've got quite a few titles in that universe. It's really cool. It's neat how they did that.
Yeah. So that that makes me feel like there's got to be somewhere a group that's collected all of the games, and they're like, we're going to play one at a time in a row. We're going to just keep this party going.
Yeah.
No matter how long it takes.
That's a good idea. Everybody buy one of each, and then you can play them all in and out.
Exactly.
Might take a couple days. But,
it's a long weekend event. That's how we'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay, so I find your game subject matter just infinitely fascinating. We've got Lacrimosa, where you're completing Mozart's last work. You got Three Ring Circus, where you're traveling around the country trying to set up different circuses. Red Cathedral, you're building the cathedral from the ground up. It's fascinating. So how long have you, Matt, been at the company?
Well, I started in 2003, and my first job with the company was to help expand our distribution into Spanish-speaking Latin America. Because at the time we had operations in Brazil, Spain, and Portugal. And I'm an ex-Wizards guy, and that's how I met Devir, actually. And Wizards of the Coast came to Devir in Brazil and said, look, we can't get any distribution going in the rest of Latin America. Can you help us? And so I had left Wizards at that point, and the guys from Devir came and they said, hey, would this be something you'd be interested in trying? And I had worked on Latin America for Wizards previously, and so that's kind of how it all came together. And then over time, we started opening local offices in all of the major countries in Latin America, and my job kind of got phased out because we have really good country managers in all these places, and they're doing an amazing job. They don't need my help. And so now, a lot of I'd say 70-80% of my efforts are dedicated toward the North America business.
Nice. And so that would mean that you've been with them for about 21 years now.
Yeah, that's right.
So in that 21 years, what are you most proud of with your time at the company?
Well, this is a total group effort, right? So yeah. I couldn't have done anything without the help and advice of my partners. But the first year that we started just in Latin America, I don't know if I should share exact figures, but let's just say that the business in Latin America today is roughly 20 times the size it was when we first started.
Okay.
And we have arguably the biggest distribution network of hobby games in the territory. And we have some fairly substantial operations in countries like Mexico and Chile. And, we've been able to do what a lot of people really couldn't do.
Yeah.
I think we're lucky by being first and having access to some really good product lines. But, when people think about the hobby game distribution in Latin America, especially, they think of Devir first and foremost. I would say, it sounds a little arrogant, but I don't mean it to come across that way, but we have a
I
really good
mean,
distribution.
what I feel like when you got it, you can flex it, right? So you can be a little sheepish about it, but that is something pretty awesome to be proud of. Is your distribution out there is it's big.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from that. That's awesome. That's incredible.
Well,
Okay, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
no, it's okay.
I know you're a busy guy and you got your summer off time to get
Well,
to.
because like I was telling you before, because I deal with the U.S. and Latin America, that summer thing doesn't really apply to me.
Yeah.
So
In fact,
cool.
because you're dealing with the U.S., you actually have to stay even later because you're trying to hit all the coasts. And
That's
so,
right. That's right. When it comes to the territory, I'm happy to be living here, so it's cool.
there you go. Okay. Anything that you guys are releasing this year that you wanted to touch on? I don't know what all you can talk about, what all you can.
Yeah.
But
Actually, I've got 3 things right here that I was hoping to show you.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so 2 of these are Gen Con releases, and then 1 will come out in September. I don't have anything on the. I wish I had the big releases, the 2 previous big releases, but I'll tell you what's coming out at Gen Con.
Yeah.
First one is Cities. This
Cities.
is a game done by Phil Walker Harding and Steve Finn. This is the Spanish version, but the English version looks identical. And it's just a really simple but deep drafting game and worker placement game. It's got a $30 price point, so it's very accessible. Perfect gateway game. This is sort of the first real gateway game that we've had in our portfolio. Excuse me, and I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to do extremely well for us. Feedback so far on it has been great.
Fantastic.
And so that's one of our big Gen Con releases, and then our other big Gen Con release is this one here, Rock Hard 1977. And this is designed by Jackie Fox, who is the bassist of the Runaways, which is one of a seminal punk band from the late 70s. If you ever heard the song Cherry Bomb.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of theirs. So yeah, she wrote just into our customer service line a while back and said, "Hey, I'm Jackie Fox. I have this idea for this game," and I'm the one who answers the customer service requests. And so I sent it off to David, and I was like, "You might want to take a look at this one because we get lots of submissions."
This might be interesting for us.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, and so it's highly thematic, and it's just you're working your way through the business as an aspiring musician. You start off and you have a day job, and eventually you start to earn enough money that you can just tell your day job to that you're done. Sorry,
yeah.
I quit. All the way up to playing stadiums, and then has 3 phases. There's a day phase where you might have to go to work, or you might go and rehearse, or then there's the night phase where you would play gigs, or maybe do some more rehearsing, or maybe you have a night job and you got to work nights because you're a bartender or something. And then there's after hours, which is like late in the morning, where you get to go and visit a bunch of different clubs, and crazy things happen at these clubs. And so Jackie inserted a great deal of humor into it, and she lived the life. So so the theme is totally spot on. So
that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah. And then the other one that I wanted to talk about, this is the Spanish version. Rats. Okay, well anyway, we have hang on just a sec.
Yeah, no worries.
We have this one, which is it's In the Ashes, which is it looks like an RPG, but it's not really an RPG. It's like a mixture of an RPG and a choose your own adventure book. You can play it solo, and when you want to do combat, for example, you take the pages and you flip them, and they'll stop on a die, and that's the result of your die that you would get right there. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, and then you'll be like, you'll go through, and it'll say, all right, you see 4 guards coming out of the tavern. What do you want to do? Do you want to talk to them? Do you want to fight them? Do you want to hide? It says, and then it'll say like, okay, if you want to hide, flip to page 11. And then on page 11, there are boxes that you can mark. It'll be like, so that it'll tell you what happens when you keep reading and you eventually get to page 11. Or if there's a fight, you win, you lose, whatever. The results will come out later in the story and send you in different directions. And you're supposed to mark it with a pencil. This thing was originally done as a PDF by the designer on Amazon here in Spain. And the guy sold like 3,000 copies within 2 months. It just exploded in the RPG community, especially.
Yeah.
So we did a Spanish version. They asked me if I wanted to try it in English, and so it's not really our kind of thing. We don't do RPGs in English, but I said, okay, let's give it a shot and see what happens.
Try it out.
It's a cool product.
Well, yeah, so it's fascinating. It seems like I should have seen something similar to this before, but I have never seen anything like it, which is, that's how you know it's a good idea, when it's something that you feel like you should have, but know for a fact you haven't seen.
Right. It seems obvious that somebody would do something like this, right?
Yeah.
But
now, I gotta say though, that sounds like a major headache to design that out.
Oh my gosh!
All the different pathways that you have to kind of take into account.
And the guy's doing more of them too. So this is just one. We've got 3 planned already.
Oh, so wow.
Hopefully it's successful in English and we can keep doing them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, like I said, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I got to ask, to close this thing out.
Sure.
What's the future of Devir looking like?
My partners and I are all really optimistic and focused on the North American market. It's the biggest market for our types of products by far. But in English, we have the smallest catalog of any of the other operations, right?
Yeah.
I've got 20 live titles, as opposed to the 400 that we have in Spanish or the 150 that we have in Portuguese. And so we want to continue growing. We've grown quite a bit in the past 3 or 4 years. We want to continue growth within the hobby market, of course. And then we'd like to kind of expand our customer base so that we can get more of the people who are going to be playing these types of games, cities, and grow the business that way. So maybe just right now our catalog is heavily weighted toward hobby gamers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we want to tilt that balance, or maybe not tilt the balance, but open it up a little bit so it's more like 50-50. Because we do a lot of different stuff. We do we have a children's game for like 4-year-old kids. We've got war games, like super heavy war games, and then everything in between. But really, we're kind of in that sweet spot of mid to heavy strategy games.
Yeah.
And so we want to kind of, pull it a little bit toward the lighter side of things and see if we can get some more customers in that area. I'd say that's where things are headed at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great direction to be, because, I've always, like I keep saying, I've always been a big fan of the work that you guys do. The games that you guys produce are amazing. They're works of art, frankly. And it's impressive. So I'm really excited to see what you guys have in the future. I'm excited to play Cities as well, because while I do enjoy myself a good strategy game, it can be hard sometimes to find the time or people to really sink your teeth into one. So having a nice lighter game, an intro strategy game, so you still get your brain still gets to do some things, but it's not necessarily as heavy as some of the other ones. So I'm excited to play it, and I'm excited to see what you guys have coming up. So
well, thanks very much. Thank you for your kind words. I'm sure you're gonna like Cities. It's really fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I truly appreciate it. Every time we talk, it's a great pleasure. So
likewise.
Hey, did you like that video? Why not run down there and give it a little like, or write in the comments what you liked about it. Better yet, you could hit this button right here to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all our fun videos. Speaking of those fun videos, you can click right here to watch some of them, huh? And if you're watching this on your phone and I'm just kind of doing this and there's no buttons over there, just use your imagination. Okay, bye, love you.